Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Journey of the Master podcast. We have a very special broadcast for you today. This is the 2025 update of the Great Awakening, and in honor of this special broadcast, we have a very special guest here with me, Sara Elizabeth. If you are part of our master's class community or you've been part of the Journey of the Master podcast for a while, you know Sara Elizabeth. She is our expert question answer to the council. She's going to be helping us out today as we do a live podcast and a live channel message along with some Q&A with the council. So hi, Sara Elizabeth. Hello.
Hi, Sarah. Glad to be here.
We are so happy you are here for this conversation for the
Well, I will have
2025
to say,
update. Go
I
ahead.
am not the question answerer. I'm definitely the question
Did
asker.
I say you're the answer?
It's a, no, it was
You
quite
can
fun.
answer them. I know you could. She's the question asker. There you go.
Uh,
She is our expert question asker and answerer, depending on what your question is.
It's true. That's true. That's absolutely true.
So for today's call, we're going to have this conversation about the update on the Great Awakening. I'm going to be answering some questions that have been pre-submitted from our master's class MP3 members. And then we're going to bring in the council for their very special message for us on the update for the Great Awakening in 2025. And then Sara has put together some questions that were also submitted by our MP3 members to ask directly to the council. So she'll be back to ask those questions here in a little bit. Thank you for being with us, Sara Elizabeth. Hello.
Excited for the update.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. If you're joining us, we're so happy that you are here. This is a very special podcast episode. It was very clearly inspired that it's time to do an update on the Great Awakening, and especially for 2025. Now, whenever you're listening to this is perfect. You may even in the future, if you are listening, have a few aha moments about what was going on in 2025 if you're listening sometime in the future. But let me begin by explaining what is the Great Awakening. So the council tells us that we are living during the time of the greatest awakening of human consciousness that has ever occurred in any lifetime. Some years ago, around 2016, I received a channel message from the council that we were on the path to creating a fully awakened world where all beings live in harmony within themselves and with each other and with nature and the planet. However, more people need to be awakened, they said back in 2016, by about 2023 in order to reach that tipping point for us to live in a fully awakened world. And the potential for that was 2035. And so I had no idea, of course, how we were supposed to do that, what we were supposed to do, right? But I look back and I see how divinely orchestrated it all was, and truly how many things happened in my own personal life and the lives of people in our community and in the world that really brought us to that awakening moment where truly by 2023, I was seeing people in every area of my life awakening. And one thing they said is you're going to start to see people that you never expected begin to awaken to the truth of who they really are. And that's what we're awakening to: our truth, our true divine nature, the love that is the truth of us, the power that is the truth of you, that peace and love and joy and harmony and abundance and well-being are the truth of you and here and available to you. And from there, the council says there is a far greater purpose for a fully awakened human family in this vast and glorious universe. So our awakening is so important, and it starts with your own personal awakening. And so we call this the Journey of the Master podcast because it really is a journey of witnessing your own becoming. You are everything you wish to be, you already are, and you're on this incredible journey of witnessing your own becoming. We're also on this journey from awakening into realization. And that's really what the council's focus is: taking those of you who are awakened and moving through this journey into realization, and then understanding how important your own awakening and realization is to our collective and our beloved human family and all the inhabitants of Earth. And so it really is important. And I understand that it might be difficult at times to imagine living in an awakened world where all beings live in harmony. But that truly is our opportunity to hold that vision of a fully awakened world and to choose to see it instead of those things that we might consider illusions. When we understand the different levels of consciousness that are available here in this human experience, you understand that you can choose the reality for you and the level of consciousness that you are in, no matter what anyone else is choosing for themselves. And it really is so important. So I sat down and opened to some inspiration from the council about this 2025 update for the Great Awakening. You're going to hear directly from them in just a little bit here. But here are the things that I think are really, really important. And if you do not remember all of these, I want you to remember number one, first and foremost, consciousness is the only thing that changes everything. Consciousness is the only thing that changes everything. So when you look out into your own life, when you look at your body, when you look at your relationships, when you look at your finances, your work in the world, when you look at your community and the world around you, and you see things that you wish to change or desire to be different, understand that the only thing that changes anything is consciousness. So it starts with your level of consciousness in that moment, first and foremost. What level of consciousness are you in? And briefly, I want to just cover the different levels of consciousness that the council talks about that are available to us here in this human experience. So you might have been familiar with the term the third dimension. The third dimension is a dimension of consciousness based on separation. We are separate from each other. We are separate from Source, God, the divine, or our soul. We tend to think we are our circumstances, our conditions, the things that have happened to us. It's a heavier, denser level of consciousness to be in. And so we have to work really hard and force things. You experience fear, you experience lack, limitation, and separation from what it is that you want. When you want something, it's out there. You're aware that it's not in your experience and there is a lack of it. So we go after and pursue and force and effort and try to make things happen. And you can accomplish things in the third dimension. But again, it's a very dense, heavy state of consciousness. However, that's where most of our collective is at this point in time. However, because we have crossed that tipping point and really experienced so many people who are now awakened, living in higher levels of consciousness and vibration and frequency, more and more and more are transcending out of that third dimension of separation into higher levels of consciousness. So when you start to go through your own awakening experience, I know for me, it was all things combined in many ways. The death of a loved one, the loss of someone that I loved so dearly, then facing my own disease or diagnosis of what was a potentially very terminal situation. I then went through a divorce. I then left the business that I thought defined me and everything that I thought defined who I was. And I went through this very difficult time of asking the question, who am I? You know, this person that I loved so much, my brother had transitioned and he was gone, but I was still here. Who am I? When a relationship ends or a job ends or you face your own potential mortality or a diagnosis, you know that there's more. Who am I? Is the question that we start to ask when we go through our own awakening experience. And so you might see this in your own life, but in the lives of other people. I can think of someone very particular in my life that's going through something very difficult and is now asking this question, who am I? This is what really ignites your awakening experience. From there, you begin to move into the fourth dimension of transformation. This is a dimension of consciousness where you're summoning a little more energy into your experience because you're raising your consciousness and you realize you're not your circumstances and conditions. You can change things, you can fix things, you can heal things, you can transform things, but we tend to get stuck, almost addicted, or create these unconscious habits of always looking at what needs to change in ourselves, in our body, in our relationships, in the world around us, in our environments, in the world. And so we're constantly trying to transform things. And what happens is because of that, we tend to be in a state of judgment of ourselves, judgment of other people, judgment of circumstances and conditions in the world. And so the step out of the fourth dimension into the fifth dimension of pure love is to go beyond judgment of yourself, of circumstances and conditions of others. This doesn't mean that you're not discerning, that you don't get to choose, that you don't look at your magnificent body and desire to experience even more well-being or even more vitality. It is about coming into your wholeness, your completeness, your perfection, exactly as you are, which allows you to elevate your consciousness into the fifth dimension of pure love. In this dimension of consciousness, you might call it heaven on earth, you might call it a new earth. It is truly a state where your well-being and your abundance is assured. And I'm going to explain to you why. And what you want and need start to show up even before you know you need it. You live in alignment to true creation where things begin to show up. And it's a yes. You're not living in this separation. You're living in this state of pure love. And so what determines your state of consciousness and what determines what level of consciousness you're in is all about where you are in this now moment. When you begin to see the third dimension, the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, you can easily identify where you are. And you might be in the fourth dimension wanting to transform something, but have this habit of constantly judging yourself or others in order to create that change. And so the ultimate formula for creation is that consciousness moves energy into form. And here's why that's so important when we're understanding what level of consciousness we're in. The more you raise your level of consciousness, you're raising your vibration, you're raising your frequency. And I'm going to talk about how to do that a little bit more. But in that moment, you are summoning more energy because you are in higher levels of consciousness, which means you're at a higher vibrational rate of frequency and your experience is less dense, which means you're elevating yourself out of those lower dimensions of consciousness and you're really summoning your own light into form. So consciousness summons energy into form. So the more energy you're summoning, the higher state of consciousness you're in, and you experience more of that state of pure love. The other dimension of consciousness that the council talks about is the sixth dimension, which is the realm of pure potential and possibility, the realm of imagination, where you go from the now moment, being fully present in your power in the moment, to access the sixth dimension of pure potential and possibility and create in realities that while we still see things in form are not in a physical form, but it is through the summoning of our energy and our awareness that we move our light into form, and those realities that we explore in the sixth dimension become our realities that we create in our life. And so it's important to understand this, to understand the journey of awakening and the great awakening that's occurring here. Most people think that as part of the great awakening that we have to rid the third dimension in order to save the world. We have to get rid of all those things in the third dimension that we don't like control, manipulation, war, violence, abuse, all of those things. In addition, lack, limitation, fear, unworthiness, all of those things. And it's not about ridding the third dimension of those things. Your job is to elevate yourself beyond the third dimension of separation as part of your own awakening experience into the fourth dimension of transformation and ultimately into the fifth dimension of pure love and realization of all that you are, where you integrate every part of you. And in that, you align to your wholeness, your completeness, and you create and expand from there, not from a place of judgment about what's wrong about you or what needs to be fixed about you. So when we understand these states of consciousness, we can look at our own journey through consciousness as the master that you are, which is why this is the journey of the master. And you can really see your own becoming right before your eyes. And so the awakening experience for many people can be challenging. For most people, it is the coming to the end of yourself or who you thought you were. Maybe it feels like your life is falling apart. Maybe you feel like everything that defined who you are is no longer part of your experience. And you're asking yourself that question, who am I? Understand that this thing that we refer to is the dark night of the soul, which is common for a lot of people that are going through an awakening experience. And you can see this individually and collectively. The dark night of the soul is determined by how long you continue to deny love for yourself because of whatever you have been through. Denying your own worthiness. So, for example, if you run out of money or you lose your job or your source of income or your business fails, and now all of a sudden you have a terrible credit score and no money in the bank, you start to look at your life and wonder, who am I? And then as you look at your bank accounts and your debt, you start to judge yourself, usually very harshly, and deny love for yourself because you should have a better credit score. You should have more money. You shouldn't have lost your job. You failed at this business. And we start to judge ourselves. And so the length of time that we are denying love for ourselves or denying our own worthiness is the amount of time that the dark night of the soul lasts individually and collectively. And so the most important thing that you can do is shift into really noticing consciously when you are doubting and denying love for yourself, when you are withholding your own worthiness because you're in judgment of something that has occurred. If you have been married for many years, maybe you've been married for 30 years and now your marriage has ended and you don't know who you are because everything that you have been is someone's wife or someone's mother or someone's grandmother. And now you're not that person's spouse anymore. You begin to ask those questions. And then a lot of times we go into judgment of ourselves or that other person. And that dark night of the soul lasts for as long as you're continuing to deny love for yourself. And so really shift back into being conscious of not denying love for yourself, not denying how worthy you are. You are going through an awakening experience. And when you're conscious and aware of it, you can navigate through that with a lot greater ease, peace, and love in your life, especially for yourself. Oh, realization, which the council assures me on the other side of the great awakening of our beloved human family, is the great realization that occurs for humanity and a greater understanding and realization of our purpose in the universe, which is far greater than I believe we can imagine. But we must first awaken as humanity, and your individual awakening is so important to that. Realization tends to be a very beautiful experience that just continues to expand and go deeper and deeper. And so remember that consciousness is the only thing that changes everything. You can't go down into the third dimension of consciousness and try to push and force and rid and fight against those things you don't like. It will entangle you in that third dimension of fear and separation. And quite honestly, we're not very powerful when we're in that third dimension, entangled and fighting against. Raise your consciousness, raise your vibration, be aware of the thoughts that you're thinking, really come into the highest level of consciousness, align to your own wholeness and perfection, and then take action from there. Remember, consciousness is what changes everything. And I learned this from one of our incredible students that has been a part of our community for a long time and a very dear friend who is involved in animal advocacy and works in some of the most difficult environments, supporting animal welfare and helping to change legislation. And one of the things she really understands and why she has made such an incredible impact herself and her amazing team is she understands that it's the consciousness level that changes things. You can go into a situation and try to save everybody that's there, but if there's not a shift in the consciousness, then the change is not long lasting. Another example of this, years ago, I was part of a philanthropic project of going into third world countries and helping to save the dogs that were there. And this very wise, wonderful man came to our organization and said, understand, you can spend all this money and go into that place and save all the dogs that are there. But next year you'll have to come back and do it again and do it again and do it again, unless you change the consciousness. And he said, the truth is the children are taught at a young age that dogs are dirty and diseased, and there's not a lot of love or compassion or understanding. And so if you want to make a difference, create a bond between children in these cultures and dogs and animals, and you will change the consciousness. You will bring understanding and awareness. And so sometimes the people that we judge the harshest, I'm a huge animal lover, and I often question how certain people can be in certain roles and do certain things to people or animals or nature. And I realize that if they were conscious and aware and awakened, they may make a different choice. And so there's so many examples of this, but consciousness is the only thing that changes anything. If you're going to take conscious action about the things that you believe in, be sure to get into that highest state of pure love and take action from there. But be aware of your state of consciousness. It's going to be more important than ever before. Number 2, allow everyone their own journey from awakening to realization. You have a higher self, you have a soul, you have a team and guides that are always here for you, supporting you, guiding you through your own awakening experience, and everyone else does too. You will cause your own suffering when you think you know what another soul's journey should be, how it should be, and when it should be. The most loving thing that you can do is love people and let them be where they are. Don't try to change them, but you can be a way shower of a better path forward. You can be a way shower of being in your power and being in a state of peace and harmony and love and really elevating your own consciousness. You can be a way shower and love people and let them be where they are. And that might be the greatest contribution that you make to their own awakening experience. And of course, we did an amazing course. We have an upcoming book on the 11 spiritual roles of the soul. And the way shower is a very, very big part of that. The transformer is a very, very big part of that. We all are playing roles here in this great awakening, but people don't want to be changed. They want to be loved. So allow people to have their journey, love them where they are. And that might be the greatest contribution you make to their own awakening journey. There is always a grander perspective. Number 3, there is always a grander perspective in every situation. And your job is to elevate your awareness to that grander perspective that is always there and available, and to hold the vision of that grander perspective. One of the things I noticed about myself is this reaction where you see something on the news or you hear something from someone, and my first response was, oh, that's so awful. Now I'm entangled. Now I'm in the fear and the lack and the separation. And it takes a conscious, intentional practice of staying present in the moment, in your power, and in a state of peace, no matter what is going on, and not instantly reacting. When you feel yourself wanting to say that's awful, take a really deep breath. Is it possible in some way, maybe you don't see it now, but is it possible in some way that whatever is happening someday might be a gift or a blessing? And you're going to see this a lot, because I know in my own experience, it was some of the most difficult things that I went through in my life that seemed really awful at the time that were the catalyst for my own awakening and moving into realization. And I see that all the time with my students. And so understand there is a grander perspective, and part of your responsibility is to hold that grander perspective. See the truth in everything, and don't get lost and distracted by the illusion. Number 4, see the truth and love in everything that is the truth of everything. Don't get lost and distracted by the illusion. If you are in grief, if you are in sadness, if you are seeing anything going on in the world that is upsetting to you, remember that behind all of that is love. Behind all of that is love. If you are seeing something happening on the planet and you feel deeply affected by that, instead of going into reaction, instead of believing in the illusion, remember that underneath all of that is love. Our love for humanity, our love for the animals, our love for nature and the planet. And, I was thinking about this yesterday, and it was a reaction to a particular person, and it was back to that quote, and I believe it's Martin Luther King Jr. Let no one drag you down low enough that you hate them, right? Let no one drag you to this place of hating them, because it's truly not the truth of you. And when someone is in a lower level of consciousness and feeling powerless and feeling unworthy or feeling unloved or feeling out of control, it is hurt people that hurt people. And if they knew the love that they were, if they knew the truth of who they were, if they were awakened, they wouldn't choose to hurt or harm or abuse. And so see the truth in everything. Don't get distracted in the illusion. Number 5, big things are happening. Big things are happening. And big things are happening now, and big things are going to be happening. Really great, amazing things. I truly believe we have hit a whole new level of consciousness, energy, light on Earth, in the planet, in ourselves, and it's bringing about big things. So slow down, find stillness, really be aware of your own self-care, and have fun. Big things are happening. Slow down. Find some moments of stillness to reconnect to your own wholeness, completeness, power in the moment. Really be aware of your own self-care. And that may mean things change for you. That may mean the way you exercise is different now than it used to be. The way you eat is different now. The way you sleep is different now. The things that you do throughout your day may become different as these big things begin to move into your experience and your reality. Self-care is really important, and have fun. Have fun. It's so important. It really is a big part of bringing forth this great awakening. Fun, joy, playfulness. We have some questions that I think are really quite complementary to these things that have been submitted by members of our Master's Class MP3 program, which includes channeled messages that are new every single month from the council. And so one of the first questions was asked, I've been on this journey for a long time. Sometimes I'm frustrated, sometimes I'm tired, sometimes I want to give up. But then there's these moments which are like gifts, almost sacred. I almost feel I need one big nudge and all will fall into place. What is the nudge that I need? And first off, I got an instant download when I read this question, and it's for this person who asked the question and for all of us. The last step, the last big piece is knowing that you are truly worthy of creating your life and your reality the way that you want it to be. There's nothing else you have to do in order to be enough. You are whole, complete, perfect, divine, radiant in this moment. You're more than enough as you are. You are worthy of allowing the life and the reality that you want to create for yourself in a way that is joyful, peaceful, loving, harmonious. What brings you joy? Do that. What brings you joy? Do that. I find if you focus each day on the things that bring you joy, all of a sudden you come to this moment and you look back and you go, oh my gosh, my entire life really has changed. And you realize that big things were falling into place as you were following the energy and the light and doing the things that you love and doing the things that bring you joy. Big things were happening. So I hope that's helpful. Another question. Again, I have been on a spiritual path for more than 25 years. This person says, I know I'm spiritually awake and practicing daily to stay aligned and raise my vibration. However, 2 days ago, I got conned and robbed. At first, I felt awful because I was aware that in my country, these thefts happen a lot. And I was very cautious about people asking me for sensitive information. But I had to ask for a loan to pay for my bills. I realize I really believe that everything is happening for me and that this happened because I don't feel really abundant, and I don't quite believe completely that I am worthy of having financial abundance and that I am powerful enough to provide it for myself. I also feel that this situation and others are quite aggressive, and I would like to know if as we move forward on the path, we will not have to experience them. First off, my absolute compassion for you. I certainly understand the challenge and the feelings that would come up when you experience something like that. And it's easy to get stuck in the why or being upset and being hurt. And the first thing I really want you to do is remember that all of your power is in the now moment. All of your power is in the now moment. And so before you take any action or think about anything or move forward or do anything, stop, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, come into the moment and come into your power. The council says everything is always happening for you to bring you into new levels of your power. And you actually answered your question. How are you giving your power away? Well, not feeling that you're abundant and not feeling that you can be financially abundant and you're not powerful enough, we tend to have experiences that reflect to us, see, I'm not really that powerful. And so when you start to shift to, how did this happen for me to bring me into new levels of my power so I can get clear on what I really want and create my reality the way I want it to be? And so I think what I'm hearing from this question is I want to be abundant and I want to experience my own personal power. And so there's clarity in that. And there's a reality that you can create where you experience that. So slow down and just start to notice, when do you feel in your power and when do you not feel in your power? And don't try to push and force yourself through those states. What am I giving my power away to in this moment? What am I giving my power away to in this moment? And don't judge it yourself or anything. What am I giving my power away to? And then I like to imagine that I'm breathing in this light, and from every corner, as far as I can see, this light that is my power is coming back inside of me. So taking a deep breath and imagining this light coming back inside of you, and it is your power. And it's my favorite affirmation at the moment from the council. When you really start to feel those states, affirm to yourself out loud, I know who I am. I know who I am. I am not what has happened. I am not my circumstances and conditions. I know who I am. And the truth is, you are a powerful being and you are infinitely abundant. And as you shift to seeing that abundance in your life and knowing that you are powerful, that continues to expand, and there's more and more. 2 more questions that I want to answer from our incredible MP3 members. This person says, I want to gain further understanding of how much I can affect the version I see of my partner of 40 years. I ask because my current understanding of the fact that I am creator within my own creation would suggest to me that I can, in which case it would also appear to suggest that I may be at some level projecting out the experience of her I am perceiving. If this person says, I'm 67 and she is 74 and has been diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer's. So I'm wondering if by changing my frequency and consciousness, can I experience a healthy version of her again? Or is it not possible, as it may be her choice to experience dementia? I have to say, every time I read these questions, what profound, incredible, wise beings we have in our master's class program. And, you know, in many ways, you're very conscious and aware of the answer, which is, can you create a reality where she is in a state of well-being and that you experience her there, and that you continue to see her as a powerful creator, as whole and complete and in a state of well-being, regardless of what she's going through? And can you also honor her choice of why she's choosing this journey? Again, allow everyone their own journey. Allow everyone their own journey. So if you can accept what is in this moment, if you can accept that this is her journey for whatever reason. The council actually gave a very profound answer yesterday in our advanced master's program about dementia, and that those people are more on the other side in higher realms. They gave the analogy of, have you ever been in your head or in your imagination or daydreaming, and someone asks you a question, you go, what? Oh, what? I didn't hear your question, right? Kind of similar to that. And so understanding that she is in a state of well-being, you can see her in a state of well-being, you can experience her in that state. That may not cure her dementia, but it will allow you to accept what is and find peace with what is, which will likely present a whole lot of amazing gifts to you when you do. And you begin to have a new relationship with her where she is, and in a relationship where you're experiencing her well-being. It's also true when someone makes their transition, when we're trying to find them where they were and they're no longer in physical form and they have transitioned, and we're feeling so separate from them that there's so much grief. We're as far away from where they really are and the state that they're in. And so when we can reconnect to the love that we have for them and feel for where they are and feel their consciousness all around you, you can continue your journey with that person, even though they have left the physical form and they have moved on to higher realms. Now you have a new, more expanded relationship with them there. And I really think that it's possible for you with your partner and the current situation she's in. So beautiful question. Last one. Please elaborate on what is meant by creating from a place of innocence. Can you provide an example to illustrate that concept? Yes, I can. It's one of my favorite stories. It haunted me for years, and then it changed my life. So when I was a kid, my aunt, was into metaphysics and reincarnation and the power of the mind and all of these things. And she would say, you can create anything you want with your mind. You have all this power. And so I was in, I believe, third grade. So I'm about 8 years old. And one day in class, the teacher brought in this jar of jelly beans and set it down in front of the class and said, we're going to do a little contest. And everybody gets to submit their guess of how many jelly beans are in the jar. And whoever guesses correctly wins the jelly beans. So I really wanted to win the jelly beans. I really wanted to win the jelly beans. I really wanted it. And I went into my mind and imagined winning the jelly beans. And I went into my mind and even as a young age, wanted to know the answer of exactly how many jelly beans so I could win the jelly beans. Next day, we came into the class, sat down. The teacher said, and the winner of the jelly beans is not Sara. And this girl went up and collected her jar of jelly beans, and the teacher told us exactly how many were in the jar. And I was a long way off with my guess, and I was devastated. I lost. It didn't work. This whole stuff about the power of your mind didn't work. And I was haunted by that for many years. And then I had another experience. When I was about 13 years old, I had a horse and I showed horses, and I was so in love with my horse. He was just the most incredible, beloved friend and companion. I loved riding him every day. I loved showing him. And I really had this inspiration, this desire that came to me that it was possible for me to qualify for the world show in Fort Worth, Texas with my horse, Patrick. And I went into this class that I had to win in order to qualify. And I walked into that class and I remember this light, this energy, this love. I was so in love with my horse. I was having so much fun. I did the class. I left the arena after the class and I knew I had won. I didn't want to win. I knew I won. And sure enough, they announced I had won. And later that year, Patrick and I went to the world show in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm telling you all this because here's the thing. Here's the epiphany I had. I don't even like jelly beans. I don't like candy. Even as a kid, I never liked jelly beans. I wanted to win. I wanted to force it to happen. I wanted to prove that my mind could create what I wanted. There was a force, there was an effort, there was a win, there was a lot of resistance. In the case of my horse Patrick, there was this innocent, pure love that I had for him, and I know he had for me. And there was this innocent, pure love for riding him and being with him and showing him. And the desire to go to the World Show didn't come from my head, it was inspired in my heart. It was absolutely innocent. And it was innocent, pure love. And when I had that epiphany, the difference between pure, innocent love and desire that comes to your heart, and there's this energy and this light in it, and you just know, is so different than trying to force and effort something. And in my case, it was the perfect example because I don't even like jelly beans. Now, that girl that won probably loved jelly beans. So that's my story for really understanding innocence, innocent desire, the power of love and innocence in your creations and your experiences and your ability to create reality. So I hope that helps. I have to reflect on that story very, very often and ask myself, is this pure, innocent desire? Or am I trying to force and make something happen here? Is the love really there? If the love is there, I know you come to this knowing, you know it's going to come together. You know you can create that reality. So I hope that was helpful. Okay. Thank you to our master's class MP3 program members who submitted their questions. I'm going to bring Sarah Elizabeth back here just for a moment. Again, she's going to help us with asking questions to the council. I'm going to bring them in. They'll have their message for us. And then Sarah has some questions that have been submitted that she's going to ask on behalf of our community for the council. So if you're new to me, or if you're new to channeling, or if you've never heard of the council, welcome. We're happy you're here. Channeling to me is a very natural thing. We all do it in some way. I find that it's very natural for me through tens of thousands of hours of doing it, that verbally channeling is my experience of channeling source energy and higher consciousness. And I'm a what we call verbal channel. So I'm just going to close my eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, and the council will begin. I don't experience them as outside of me. I really feel that I'm elevating my consciousness to the state of consciousness where they are, and everything is here and available for each and every one of us. And then I'm just translating their streams of consciousness and bringing through their incredible love and wisdom as quickly as possible, because sometimes it's very intense. So my eyes are closed when I'm channeling. It just helps me to focus on their message. And the cadence of my voice changes just a little bit. You might notice that. If you're not sure if you believe in channeling, that's okay. Just take what resonates with you and see how the message feels to you, and take the things that really are helpful or impactful for you. So Sarah Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to bring in the council, and then we'll go to your questions, and then we'll wrap up the podcast for the day. A couple of different things. If you love this, we do a Journey of the Master podcast episode. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also find these episodes on your favorite podcast platform. If you want more free resources, there's lots of great videos on YouTube, our YouTube channel, Sarah Landon Life. And please go to sarahlandon.com. We have a whole section of free resources, but we also have a free gift for you, which is the highlights of our Grander Perspective series, which has been one of our most incredible series. You can get the highlights of that Grander Perspective series for absolutely free. And if you're listening to this live or in the next couple of weeks, if you are part of our community, we do have a free gift coming for you in the month of February. So stay tuned for that. Okay, here we go. We are so pleased and delighted to have the opportunity to speak with you on this fine and glorious day indeed. This is the greatest transformation of consciousness that has ever occurred in any lifetime. as the great awakening of humanity is unfolding on earth at this time at an unprecedented rate. You are not only going to see the expansion of your own awakening into realization, you're going to see friends, family members, neighbors, people in your community also awakening at expeditious rates. You have gone through your own awakening to contribute to this great awakening that is unfolding at this time. And everything that is occurring on earth is serving in this great awakening. You knew that you would come forth into your own human experience to first go through your own awakening. You knew it was divinely timed and divinely orchestrated, and that it would be so important, especially at this time, as you contribute to the great awakening that is unfolding at an unprecedented rate. And indeed, there is a far greater purpose for humanity. Once you are awakened, you will see this in your own experience. You will find a greater sense of purpose, fulfillment, and meaning in your own life as you allow the awakening that you have undergone or are undergoing to the truth of who you really are. You will see there is greater purpose, fulfillment, and meaning. You will see that there is greater love and joy and freedom and abundance and well-being and love in your own experience, and that continues to expand. There will come a moment where humanity literally is at such a collective frequency that people will remember and awaken. And many of you have been through challenging and difficult awakening experiences. But because of the level of consciousness you're in, and the frequency and the love that you are, and the peace that you are embodying, that awakening experience can be easier, more harmonious, and more expeditious for those around you. It's not your job. You're not here to save a broken world. You are here to come into the truth of who you are, into the realization of all that you are, and then to stay on the planet living in the reality that you choose and create for you. And you're going to find that as you step into your own experience of heaven on earth or a new earth, that your experience of paradise is your purpose. Your heaven on earth is your purpose. You creating your experience of the new earth is the greatest contribution you make to the awakening of humanity, because you are creating potentials and possibilities for all others who are ready, who are choosing. You are not going to rid the world of the things that you do not like. It is your opportunity to elevate yourself from lack to abundance, from sickness to well-being, from fear to love, from separation to oneness, wholeness, completion within yourself. However you are feeling in any moment is what you are contributing. When you are feeling peace within yourself, you are making it possible for all others to more easily choose peace, which is also the truth of them. There are no words to describe how important you are, how significant you are. And this is not a hierarchy or a better than. You have gone through your own awakening because you were ready and you were choosing. And all others will go through their own awakening when they are ready and when they are choosing. But you can imagine If you saw a reality that was dismal and dark and lonely, and you saw a reality that was bright and bold and beautiful and harmonious and joyful and abundant and peaceful, without making any big decision whatsoever, most would choose the beautiful, loving world. And the only reason one would not is because they didn't believe they were worthy of it. So as you all remember your own infinite worthiness, you remember that peace and joy and love and harmony and freedom, well-being, and well-being is the truth of who you are. Your job is not to rid the third dimension of the things you do not like. You are here to elevate yourself beyond it. You are not here to do it for everyone else. You're here to create your heaven on earth for you. And that is the contribution you make. You are not here to get rid of all of the mean, bad people that try to take people's power and control other people. So long as there are people willing to give their power away, such that they do not have to be responsible for creating their own reality, or don't believe they're capable of it, or are powerless, you will always have the people that are willing to take others' power. So the more you step into your power and live an empowered, inspired, uplifted life, you shine the light on the path, the way. You are the way shower for all others to remember their power too. That's how important you are. So we will go to your questions now.
Beautiful. We'll begin today with one from Pam, who says, I've been very passionate most of my life about starting a food rescue program in my area to help hungry people when I retire in 2 years. Why don't you talk about serving others? I know you want us to first meet our own needs, be a role model of love and light to the world, and do what brings us joy. But what if helping those in need of food does bring me joy and purpose? Is that something you think is in the highest good for me and those I help?
We don't tell you that you need to be or should be helping people because we know who you are. You are the most compassionate, loving souls in all the universe. You can't help but want to serve others. You can't help but care for the things you love. It's who you are. Of course, you bringing love and light and joy and food and nutrition and nutrients to people is a wonderful thing. And we're so happy you enjoy it. We just want you to understand that you cannot give what you do not have. So when you are in your power and you are doing this for you and you are doing it because it's your joy and your passion and your love, and you know the truth of these beings is that they are abundant. It's who they are. And you are infusing your own love and consciousness and light in every meal you serve. You are contributing in ways that you could never understand. Come into the highest level of consciousness in your joy, in your love, and do the things that bring you joy and the things that you love. You are naturally compassionate and loving and caring, all of you. We have said you are all here because of your great love for humanity, the planet, and the animals. Nothing is going to stop you from helping every chance you get. But you can't be in lack and embody the truth of abundance. Come into the wholeness, perfection, completeness of all that you are, and you will realize that while you are nurturing their body, your consciousness, your energy, your light is helping them reconnect to their truth, to their soul, is nurturing their soul. Of course, we celebrate all of the ways that you want to make a positive, loving impact on the lives of others? Really good question.
Wonderful. Our next was submitted anonymously. As a psychotherapist, I work with adults who have experienced childhood trauma. As I sit face to face with them, how can I avoid going into lower dimensions by focusing on my client's suffering? And how can I instead remain in the fifth dimension and know that they are already perfectly healed? Does the field of psychotherapy, by its very nature, exist in a lower dimension of consciousness? In order to support my own awakening, will I need to eventually leave this profession?
Well, take all the titles out of it. You are connecting with another divine being. And again, the light and the love and the consciousness that you are embodying in that moment is the greatest contribution that you make. And so being present in the moment and in your own power and not entangling with another's trauma, but holding yourself in a state of compassion. We often talk about the difference of compassion. We know you care. We know you love. We know that there are things that have happened to people that are upsetting to you. And you have such great compassion for what they have been through. But when you entangle with that thing and give energy to that memory and give energy to that story and, oh, that's awful, and I'm so sorry that happened, and I can see why, and you go into the story and you talk about 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 the story, now it's bigger and stronger because it's getting more and more energy. So we would encourage you to really be present and be conscious and in your power. And as they're speaking, you are in a state of absolute love and compassion, but you are seeing the truth of them, and you know they are not their circumstances. They are not their conditions. They are not the things that have happened to them. You are seeing them as a divine, powerful being, and you are holding your state of consciousness in your own power as you make it possible for them to remember they have the power too to create their reality. Every single one of you has been through something difficult and hard and hurtful that if you were to tell the story to someone else would likely bring them to tears. You have all been through that. We know that it's not always easy being in this human experience, but you are not those things that have happened. So your own question becoming, who am I? And the question to them, who are you really if you are not these things that happen to you? But don't overlook how powerful your consciousness, your presence, your compassion, and your love is in that moment. You don't have to move out of any profession to live as a fully realized being exactly where you are. And as part of this journey, sometimes people are drawn to take all of their experience and the data and information, the knowledge and the wisdom they have, and create a new reality doing something they really love and enjoy. And so be open to that if it's choiceless for you, if that's where the energy and light is guiding you. But you can serve this great awakening exactly where you are. Most importantly, by being in the highest level of consciousness, exactly where you are. Yeah, really good question.
Fantastic and very empowering. Our next question comes from Anne, who says, I have struggled with fear and anxiety throughout my entire life. Although I feel it has become better in the past 2 years, there are still situations where I feel like I could be harmed by the decisions of others. For me, it's often the fear of making a mistake, like in my business concerning taxes or something like that, and then being punished by the law or government authorities. I can see how this has already shifted somehow since I started to come more into my power, but I wonder if you can offer a perspective on what one's relationship with fear might be like once we have totally shifted into perceiving ourselves as the masters that we truly are.
Well, understand what you're fearing is the reality you're creating in your mind and projecting into the future. That isn't happening now. And worrying about it and being fearful of it is not going to serve you. Some people might say, well, if I think of the worst thing that can happen and I know how I would handle that, then I can be okay. And we understand. And we offer you the perspective that all of your power is in the now moment. All of your power is in the now moment. If you are in the past feeling shame or regret or remorse or anger or sadness about something that happened in the past, you are literally projecting whatever that memory is in this present moment and creating your reality right here, right now, even though that thing isn't happening. But you're not in the moment and you're not in your power, you're in the past. All of your power is in the now moment. If you are stressed and anxious and worried about the future, you are not in the now moment. You are projecting potentials and possibilities that are unwanted into your reality and feeling absolutely helpless because that isn't happening right now. If you know that in any moment, no matter whatever happens, you can always come into the moment, take a breath, come into your power in the now moment, and be in a level of consciousness that summons energy into form, you will never worry about anything again. You would never experience fear about anything again. And those things that you worry about will never happen because you know your power and you know that you can choose the level of consciousness you're in every moment. So this is why it's so important. And we really want you to get this. All of your power is in the now moment because when you're in the now moment in your power, you are in the highest level of consciousness and awareness in the moment. And because of that, you are summoning all of the energy that is your energy in that moment for the highest and best good, for the highest and best outcome in that moment. You can only summon the highest and best outcome in the moment by being in the moment. And so be in the moment. All of my power is in the now moment. When you catch yourself worried and fearful about something in the future, stop, come into the moment, take some deep breaths, come into your power in the moment, and feel yourself coming into that level of consciousness where you feel that you're summoning more energy into your experience in that moment so that you have practiced it and practiced it and practiced it, that it becomes your natural state of being and you will be more powerful than you can ever imagine. You will not experience the fear or the worry, and those unwanted things simply are not part of your experience because you don't need things like that to remind you of your power. You know your power. Really good question.
Beautiful. Our last question comes today from Barbara, who says, what about personality? Is it a human attribute, just like the body that we leave behind when we transition? Or does the soul have a personality? For example, people we perceive as having a quarrelsome nature in their human form. I struggle to imagine that after their transition, a being retains the temperamental characteristics of the human that they might have been. Whereas my partner considers his mother now that she is deceased, kind of as if she were the same person, but without her body, but with the same feelings and character. And I have witnessed that this is how many people think about what we are after our passage from earth. Yet, I feel that a soul cannot feel anything other than love or positive feelings, since it is, in fact, light and does not have the material contingencies that we undergo when we are in our earthly bodies. Will you share your perspective on personality?
Indeed. So imagine it like this. Whatever a person's personality is, much of it is formed by their human experience, and some of it is very innocent and innate. So if you think of what was that person like, and you likely didn't know them at the time or weren't even alive at the time, what were they like as a child? In that playful, innocent, maybe silly, maybe very imaginative, maybe really spunky and fun, or maybe a child that is more serious and thoughtful and introspective. The soul expresses itself aligned to the time that it felt its very, 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 very best in its human experience. And oftentimes, when someone who has transitioned comes to you in a dream, they will often present themselves when they felt their very best in their life. So, a grandmother who lived to be 90 or 100 years old, and you dream about your grandmother, and now she's a young woman at the age of 27 with a beautiful dress and heeled shoes and lipstick on, in the personality where she felt the freest and truest and most authentic and innocent in her human experience. And that's the best analogy that we can give you about the personality of the soul. Imagine the very, 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 very best that that being ever felt in its human experience. And that's the personality they take into the higher realms. And we understand the nature of your question. Consciousness is not limited to the body. And so the consciousness and the energy continues on. But that consciousness and energy can project itself into anything. Oftentimes, when your loved one transitions, they can more easily focus their energy into a bird flying over your head, and you look up and have this thought of your loved one and wonder if that's a sign. It is, because that's the easiest way for them to project their energy into form. Now, does that bird all of a sudden take on Uncle Bob's jovial personality and start making jokes? No. But again, you understand that the energy and the consciousness of who you really are never goes away, and that being can focus it into whatever way is easiest in that moment. And there's a lot of times you're going to feel for your loved one where they are and feel their love. But there's not any human on your planet that at one point in time did not experience their true, divine, authentic, innocent nature, even if they had a very, very challenging life. Really good question. We have truly enjoyed this. We remind you all of how very important you are at this time, that your greatest power is your consciousness, and your greatest power is your love. You are here in this great awakening because of your great love, because you knew how important it would be on earth at this time. When you embody the consciousness and the love and the light that you are, and you infuse that into everything you do all day long, you create a ripple effect that is felt in every corner of this planet and this universe. That's how important you are. So have fun with all of this. These are very exciting times. You truly are shifting into a new earth reality where there's a whole new consciousness, whole new energy, whole new you, and possibilities and potentials beyond anything you have imagined before. We could not be more excited for you. Embrace these powerful times. We are always with you. We are always available to you. We love you. We love you. We love you. And with that, we are complete.